The morning in New York City was unusually quiet, as if the universe itself had slowed down just to watch what would happen next. Cars outside barely moved, distant horns felt muted, and even the wind brushing against the glass of Mira Hale's small apartment window sounded softer than usual. Inside, Mira sat in her usual spot near the kitchen window. A simple wooden table, a neatly arranged cup, and a life built on discipline surrounded her. She gently stirred her coffee, watching the steam rise in slow spirals, while her son played on the floor with colorful toy blocks, building something that looked like a crooked castle. Mira was a Virgo single mother, structured, careful, and deeply observant of everything around her. Her life had become a system of order after years of chaos she never wanted to relive. Every morning had a routine. Every hour had a purpose. Even her emotions were controlled, measured, and tucked away when necessary. Chaos, in her world, was not just unwelcome, it was dangerous. But today, something felt off. She couldn't explain it. It wasn't loud or obvious. It was subtle, like a missing piece in a puzzle she hadn't yet looked at. A heaviness rested in her chest, quiet but persistent, like a memory trying to surface from a dream she couldn't fully recall. Last night had been strange too. She hadn't touched her tarot cards in weeks. She only used them when her intuition became too loud to ignore. But yesterday, as she was cleaning her shelf, the small wooden box containing the cards had suddenly slipped and fallen on its own. No wind, no vibration. Nothing logical. Just a sudden drop. The cards had scattered across the floor like they were alive, as if something unseen had forced them into motion. Mira remembered standing still for a full minute before moving. Then slowly, almost hesitantly, she had bent down and picked them up, one by one. And that's when she saw it. One card had flipped face up. The Emperor. Her fingers had paused instantly. Authority, structure, control, power. A man who doesn't just enter your life, but rearranges it completely. She had stared at it longer than she wanted to admit. A nervous laugh escaped her lips, breaking the silence. It's just stress, she had whispered to herself, trying to dismiss the feeling. But her Virgo mind didn't forget things easily. It analyzed. It connected. It questioned. And now, this morning, those questions were louder than ever. Mira placed her coffee cup down gently, watching her son carefully stack his blocks. He was humming softly, lost in his own little world, innocent, unaware, safe. For a moment, she allowed herself to breathe. Then it happened. Her son suddenly stopped playing. His small hands froze in midair, and he slowly looked up toward the hallway that led to the apartment door. "Mum," he said softly. Mira turned toward him. "Yes, sweetheart." His eyes were unusually focused. Not scared, but certain. "A tall man is coming." A strange silence fell over the room. Mira blinked, forcing a soft smile. "We don't know that, sweetheart. Maybe it's just," but before she could finish, a sound interrupted her. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. The sound wasn't aggressive. It wasn't random. It was controlled, measured, almost intentional. Mira felt her entire body react before her mind could process it. Her heart tightened. Her breath caught halfway. Something about the rhythm didn't feel ordinary. It felt like a signal. Like whoever was on the other side of that door had chosen this exact moment with precision. She slowly stood up. Her movements were careful, almost reluctant, as if her body already understood something her mind was still resisting. Her son watched her quietly now, no longer playing. Another knock didn't come. Only silence remained. But that silence felt heavier than sound. Mira walked toward the door. Each step felt louder than it should have in the small apartment. The wooden floor creaked softly beneath her feet, and with every step, her instincts grew sharper. This wasn't fear. Not exactly. It was recognition without memory, like standing in front of someone you've never met. But your soul already knows. She stopped just a few feet from the door. Her hand hovered near the handle. For a moment, she didn't move. Her mind raced through logic. A delivery. No. A neighbor. Unlikely. Wrong apartment. The knocks were too deliberate. There was something about the timing. The pattern. The stillness after. She inhaled slowly. Then exhaled. Behind that door wasn't just a visitor. It was an interruption. A disruption. Something or someone that did not belong to her carefully built world of order. Her fingers finally wrapped around the handle. Cold metal pressed against her skin. She hesitated for a fraction of a second longer. Then she turned it. The lock clicked softly. The door began to open. A thin line of light from the hallway spilled into her apartment, cutting through the quiet like a blade. And in that moment, just before she saw Himera, felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not fear, not curiosity, but inevitability. Like her life had been waiting for this exact second all along. The door opened wider, and the air shifted. Outside, standing in the hallway, was a tall man, composed, still silent. His presence wasn't loud, but it filled the space effortlessly, as if the world around him adjusted itself just to make room. Mira couldn't see everything clearly yet, but she felt it instantly. This wasn't an ordinary man. This was someone who didn't knock by accident. Someone who didn't arrive randomly. Someone the stars had already written into her fate, long before today. The air in the small apartment felt different the moment Adrian Cole stepped inside. Not because it was physically warmer or colder, but because something unspoken had entered with him. Something heavy, precise, and unsettlingly familiar. Mira Hale closed the door, slowly behind him, as if too much force might shatter the fragile reality forming in front of her. Her Virgo mind, always analytical, immediately went into overdrive, measuring his tone, his posture, the exact rhythm of his breathing. Nothing about him felt accidental. Yet everything about this moment felt impossible. Her son, still half hidden behind her leg, stared openly at the man. Children had a way of seeing things adults ignored, and right now, he looked almost fascinated. "You're early," Mira finally said, breaking the silence. Adrian glanced around the room, instead of answering immediately. His eyes moved, like a scanner quick, calculated, observing the neatness of the space. The carefully arranged furniture, the color-coded notes on the refrigerator. "You like order," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Mira crossed her arms. "I like control." A faint smile touched his lips again, but it didn't reach his eyes. Those are not the same thing. That sentence lingered between them longer than it should have. For a moment, neither spoke. The ticking clock on the wall suddenly felt louder than usual. Then Adrian stepped forward slightly and placed the second coffee cup on her kitchen counter. The movement was smooth, controlled, almost practiced. "I brought this," he said. "You didn't have breakfast." Mira raised an eyebrow. "You're either very observant or very intrusive. Both are required in my profession," he replied, without hesitation. Her son finally let go of her leg and walked a few steps closer, staring up at Adrian. "Mum, he smells like the coffee shop." Adrian looked down at the child. Something subtle flickered in his expression against something unreadable, but deeply focused. "And you are?" he asked gently. "Miles," the boy said proudly. "I'm 5. A pause. Then, Adrian nodded once, as if confirming something only he understood. "Nice to meet you, Miles." Mira noticed it immediately, the way his voice softened slightly when speaking to her son. It wasn't performative. It was instinctive. That unsettled her more than anything else. "Mr. Cole," Mira said, bringing the focus back. "You still haven't explained why you're here." He turned back to her fully now. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Not in an aggressive way, but in the quiet confidence of someone used to being obeyed without question. "I did try to schedule a formal meeting," he said. "But there seems to be a discrepancy in communication." "That's one way to put it," Mira muttered. Adrian ignored the sarcasm. "I'm working on a project involving predictive behavioral systems. Your name appeared in an internal data correlation model." Mira frowned. "I'm not a scientist, I know." That answer made her pause. "How do you know that?" Adrian hesitated for the first time. Just a fraction of a second, but Mira caught it. "I did my research," he said. "On me." "On patterns," he corrected. Miles suddenly tugged at Mira's sleeve. "Mum, can I have juice?" The moment broke slightly. Mira exhaled and nodded. "Go sit down, sweetheart." The boy ran off to the small table, leaving them alone again. Silence returned, but it was different now, less chaotic, more charged. Mira leaned against the counter. "You still haven't told me why a CEO is standing in my kitchen, talking about patterns and data." Adrian picked up the coffee cup he had brought for her and placed it gently closer. "Because," he said carefully, "you weren't supposed to be in the model." Mira blinked. "That doesn't make any sense." "It does," he replied. "You're a variable that shouldn't exist in the system I built." A cold feeling crawled up her spine. "I think you have the wrong person," she said firmly. "I thought that too," Adrian admitted, "until 3 weeks ago." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a thin folder. He didn't open it yet, just held it. "May I?" he asked. Mira hesitated. Every instinct screamed no. But curiosity dangerous, quiet curiosity won. She nodded once. Adrian opened the folder and slid a single sheet of paper toward her. It contained charts, numbers, and timelines. But what made her freeze was not the data. It was her name, repeated, across different dates. Different locations. Some entries were from places she had never even told anyone she visited. Her breath slowed. "This is fake," she said quickly. "It has to be, I thought so too," Adrian replied calmly. "Until I verified the source systems," Mira looked up sharply. "What source systems?" He paused again. Then said quietly, "Systems that don't make mistakes." A long silence stretched between them. From the small table, Miles laughed at something on his juice box, completely unaware that the entire atmosphere of the room had changed. Mira lowered her voice. "What are you trying to say?" Adrian stepped closer, just slightly. Not invading, but closing the distance enough that she could no longer ignore his presence. "I think," he said slowly, "that your life has been observed longer than you realize." Her heart tightened. "That sounds insane." "Insane things don't usually come with data validation," he replied. Mira looked back at the paper. Her own life mapped like a system. Her routines. Her job changes. Even her son's birth date was listed with unusual precision. "How is this possible?" she whispered. Adrian's expression softened slightly. "That's what I came to find out." A knock at the door interrupted the moment again, but this time, neither of them moved immediately. Because now the world outside felt even more uncertain than the one inside. Another knock. Stronger this time. Mira's body tensed instinctively. Adrian didn't look away from her. "That," he said quietly, "wasn't part of my schedule." Her voice dropped. "Then whose is it?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took a slow breath. And for the first time since he arrived, there was something like uncertainty in his eyes. "I think," he said finally, "we're about to find out why your name keeps appearing where it shouldn't." The knock came again. 3. Deliberate strikes, slow, controlled, almost familiar. Mira looked at her son, then at Adrian, and realized something terrifying. Whatever was on the other side of that door was not a coincidence. It was connected to both of them,